Hey y'all, so in today's video, I want to talk about how God gave me my dream apartment, y'all. So a few months ago, y'all know I made a whole video talking about my debt, talking about my income, and talking about how I created this perfect budget to knock out my debt, to do all these things, and life was great. I was sticking to it. I was really following it. I was like throwing down so much on my debt. And one week, God had like shared a dream with me that I didn't really fully understand, but it was like happening in my life. And I was just like, man, I need to move. And I was just like, I like kind of like said it kind of just like casually. I was just like, yeah, I need to move. Like, okay. But I was like, you know what? Let me like really look into this. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. I had shared it briefly in a video about how I was looking at apartments, but nothing was working. It's not even like it was like more so about the money, but it was really more so about like I didn't like the location. I had even mentioned it to my sister, and she was like, I don't think this is a good time or a good idea. And I was just like, whatever. So I was just like, I just put it to the side, and I was like, whatever, I'll just live here and just pay off my debt and all that stuff. So I finally get a full-time job, and I'm working part-time, per diem now. So I'm like, okay, like let me pay off my debt. Let me get my life in order and get all these things financially done. And so when I was looking into an apartment, I was just like, yeah, nah, this is a lot of money and I don't know if I should do this. But like something was just like, no, I still have a lot of student loans. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. I still have a lot of like goals that I wanted to achieve. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, nah, we're not doing this. Just like last year, I was like, nah, we're not gonna do this again. Like, we're just not gonna move. And my church has prayer at midnight. So I had signed in, because I came from work, I had worked at my per diem job. So I came home, and so I signed in at like 12:20, 12:30. And one of the prayer points that they had at that moment, I was like, you know what? Because I was at a point of just like, I don't need to move now. Like, it's cool. The prayer point they had at that moment was like literally, I signed onto my phone. The man praying said, you need to come out of that house of stagnation. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And he repeated it. He was like, come out of that house of stagnation. And I was like, Lord. Y'all, I kid you. I screen recorded it and I will post it. I will post it here.
Every power of the enemy that has kept me in the house of stagnation. I come out. I come out. 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 Clap your hands and begin to pray.
Yes. Yes. So literally I was like, okay, God. And this may seem like very like, okay, this is just a coincidence, Danicia. This is like, no. All of 2022, God was, these are the types of encounters I would have with God. Whether it was a dream or whether it was like something that like I was thinking about, and then literally I would watch a sermon or someone would text me or someone would say something and I was like, God? Like, I've never heard such clear direction from God on certain things. And so, all throughout 2022, I kid you not, I would have encounters like this. So, when I saw that video or when I was on that prayer, I was like, okay, God, I know what I need to do. And I was like, okay, we're going to do this. Like, we're really going to do this and we're going to look at apartments. So I was like, God, please, it's like, show me where to go. Show me what to do. If this is what you want, you need to do it. Like, and that's how all 2022 has been. I was like, if this is what you want, you need to do it. And he does it expeditiously. Okay. Um, so I just remember looking at apartments. So I remember I looked at one and it was like was a little high up there in price, and I was like, okay, maybe this is doable, maybe. So I like go to see it, and I was just like, oh, this is not it. Like, it was like nice, but it was giving me very like tall skyscraper building. Parking was a hot, like I got there and I was struggling, and I was just like, I don't want this for my life. It was beautiful though. And I did share it in my video. I had shared a video of apartment hunting, and that night my church, I had Friday night service, so I went right after, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna stress about this. I'm not gonna look into this stuff anymore. Like, let me just put it on the back burner. Because I talked to my sister, and she was like, "Oh, like like you definitely should move." And my sister was all on board, which was another thing that was just very like. I was like, last year when I was talking about this, you were like, "Nah," and now you're like, "Yes, absolutely, do it." And I was like, that was another just confirmation of God showing me like, this is what I need you to do. And so I just remember thinking to myself, like, okay, yeah, I can wait. Maybe I can wait another 6 months or a couple months or whatever. And I remember I was sitting in service, and I'm going to find it. And the title of the sermon that the young lady was preaching was Restoring the Loss of Time. And there was something, I was just like listening, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool, like, cool. And she said something on the lines of, be careful. She was just like, don't miss out on what God is telling you to do, because the grace period is ending. And I said, what, Lord? I was like, I'm sorry? So I was planning on just like putting this on the back burner, and I was just like, and in that moment, sitting down, God was just like, the grace period is ending. This is something that needs to be done now. So I go home, and I was like, God, that apartment was not going to work, and it was too expensive too. It was like 25 something base rent, and then on top of that, $125 for parking, all these other fees, and that's still not even including utilities, electricity, gas, water, all them things. I was like, that's going to be close to $3,000 a month. So I was like, yeah, I was just like, God, okay. So I literally drove home, and I was in my bed, and I was just looking up like random apartments. I was just like, okay, let me look like a little further, but like still close to like where I was looking. And just this random apartment just comes up, and I was like, okay, let me look on this. Like, it looks nice. First of all, this place was nicer than the other place. They had a pool. Well, the other place had a pool, but this one was like outdoor pool. It had all this other stuff that I didn't even like look for in an apartment, but I was like, wow, this is nice. And it was cheaper. And I was like, this can't be this easy. So the next day, I just called up the place. I was like, hey, can I come take a look? And they were like, yeah, of course you can. So I go, and I pull in, and I was like, it was a community-like feel. I saw people walking their dogs, people with their kids. I was just like, wow. Like, it didn't feel very isolated and cold like the other building did. So I went in. All I could say is beautiful. Beautiful. I didn't even see the apartment yet, but just beautiful. So then I go, so then the lady comes, she was just like, hey, these are our prices, this is what it is this what you want? I was like, she was very like straight to the cut, and I was just like, yeah, that could work. So we go look at the apartment. All I could say is, y'all, like, this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. And it was a good $500 cheaper than the other place. So I was like, there's no way, God, this is this simple. Like, there's no way. And I was telling my sister about it. My sister was like, Darnie, I think this is the place. Like, you sound so excited. Like, you like it. Like, I was like, yeah. So literally, then, fear started to set in, and I started getting a little scared. I think my calculator broke at some point on my phone, because I was using it so often to calculate, okay, this is how much I pay in my loans, this is how much I pay in this is how much I pay in this is how much rent will be. Okay, if I spend $150 on electricity and utility, whatever, then this is how much it's going to be. I need to put, and I was calculating, I was like, okay, so then I need to work an extra X amount of hours at the hospital, so that way I can make sure I have enough for the, I was going crazy, y'all. And I was getting fearful, and I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And fear was just setting in constantly, and I was constantly like messaging my friends and family, and like they were like, Donnie, say you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And I just remember my church had a weekend retreat, and so we went to the mountains, literally. And I just said, my sister was like, you know what, just go away this weekend and don't think about this trip. Don't think about moving. Don't think about it like anything like that. So I was like, okay. I was like, I'm not gonna think about this at all. The first night, the pastor was preaching, and she was just like, some of you are so concerned about money. You're like snakes on the ground trying to get every single job or every single shift or every work all the time. But she was like, what is money when you have God's favor? And I was like, okay, God. I said I wasn't going to think about this weekend, but here we are. And then God is so like merciful, because he told me what I needed to do. He told me I needed to move, and I was still doubtful. But anyways, oh, and also before even going on this retreat, I randomly get a pop-up video from Tiffany Montgomery, like YouTube. Like, it was a YouTube short. It wasn't even like a video. I don't even watch YouTube shorts, okay? But this popped up on my channel, and it was like, urgent message from God or something like that. I'm going to post it right here. You need to leave. I was like, y'all, I can't make this stuff up, which is why I'm sharing it on here. And God is really like, hey, I told you something, and you need to trust what I'm saying is good for you. Stop trying to calculate or make sense of it. But anyway, so we go to the retreat that weekend. And so after that message on that Friday night, I was like, my friend was looking at me like, you still think that God is not telling you what you need to do? So I was like, okay. So I ended up putting in my application for the apartment, sending in my like pay stub and all the stuff, and the giving the okay to do the background check. I sent it in at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning, or 2 a.m. in the morning or something, and went to sleep. And I was like, you know, it's probably gonna take like a couple days, a couple weeks maybe, before like getting my application like looked into or approved or denied, or who knows. I wake up, and I didn't see any emails, but the place opens at 10, right? The leasing office. At 11 something, I get an email. Congratulations, your application has been approved. And I just looked at the email like, there's no way that in 45 minutes to 1 hour that my application was approved. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, excuse me? I'm sorry, how? And my friend was just like, when it's God, it is like nothing can stop it. When it's God, it's like easy. Like, anyways, so, you know, I was just like, you know what? We're doing this. God has shared this in my heart. Extreme obedience was like 2022, and of course still now, but like that was just like what I just knew. Like, God was saying that this is going to be a transformative year, and I shared that in a lot of videos, and it has been. New job. I'm going to go share another video about the class that I took, but a class that God told me to take, I took it. Like, new church, like so many things that God clearly instructed me to do, and I said, this is no different. I need to move. So you would think after that it would be done, and God would be like, okay, she got the point. There was still fear in my heart. I'm not going to lie. And so that Saturday night, the pastor's preaching, and it was good. And, you know, I'm just like worshiping. I'm like, yes, God. Because my act of worship that weekend was surrender. Because I was like, God, I'm scared, but I literally cannot do this by myself. I cannot do this on my own. So my praise is a surrender. Literally hands up. Like, I surrender because I'm scared, but if you're telling me to do this, I have to trust you. So literally, the pastor's preaching and he shares a video and he's talking, and then literally out of nowhere, like I don't know, something just clicked in my head and it was just like start recording. So I'm recording and this man is saying, change your location. Change your location. Some of you need to come out of your mother and father's house. Change your location. I was like, I can't make this stuff up, and I will post it right here.
Receive it now. Receive it now. Be transfigured. Be transformed. Change location. Change location. Change location. Change levels. Change levels.
So, after all of that, when I tell you, I'm not gonna lie, there were still moments of fear, or still moments of like, can I do this? But I got to a point where I realized in the Bible it says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And I'll share it here. He has not. If God has not given me the spirit of fear, where is that coming from? If it's not the spirit of God, then it's the spirit of the enemy, right? So clearly, if God is telling you to do something, there's good reason. There is good reason, and we have to trust and know that. So honestly, like I have not been fearful anymore. Like honestly, I've gone to a point to be excited and embrace it. And one of the things, the reason why like I knew so confidently that this was God was because back in October, my church was doing a fast, and I remember so clearly having a dream where my sister looks at me. She's like, how's the fast? And I look at her, I'm like, how's the fast going? And she looks at me and she says, she was like, things are going to happen fast, but you're going to be okay. And I was like, I woke up from the dream and I was like, okay, thanks. Like, I was like, I didn't know what to think of it. Then I had another dream with her and she's literally giving me bread. She's just like, here, like, you're going to be okay. And God was showing me like, I'm going to provide for you. And I don't know, I posted a video here and maybe some of you saw it, but there was just a period of time, I think this was a little bit before the fast, where God was very clearly like just emphasizing that he is Jehovah Jireh, which means that he's our provider, right? He was very clearly showing me this over and over, and I couldn't get, I'm like, God, why do you keep saying, like, I know you're my provider, and praise God, you provided for me, and I'm doing great, and I'm comfortable where I'm at. But why do you keep pressing that you're my provider? Like, I'll link the video that I posted here. Literally, I was driving in my car one morning to church, and I saw, like, on the license plate said Jireh. I mean, it wasn't the exact words, but, and I was just like, wow, God, like, even like during the fast, he was just like, I'm going to be honey in a rock. Like all this stuff. Like, I wish I could just share everything on here. Cause like, y'all might think I sound crazy in my head, but like, it's just like how, when you allow yourself to be open for God to talk to you, he will be so clear. I've never encountered God so clearly before in my life than I did last year and now, and just continue to it, because like, I remember praying at one point because I was just so down at the beginning of the year last year, and I was so just like felt so lost, and it just needed direction. I remember asking for prayer, like, I need guidance from God. And God just literally just came and just like took me up, like literally just like snatched me from like being so down and just being so clear, and just like, and giving instruction that like there's no way I could deny that it was God. But anyways, so even during the fast, he was just sharing like, I'm gonna be a provider, I'm gonna be honey in the rock. Like, I didn't know what any of that meant, but I was like, okay. And then in October, still also during this fast, I had to get a rental car because my car, like, someone backed into it and like gave me like it was just like a small little bumper, like my bumper went in, whatever. It wasn't anything big, but I had to get a rental car anyway. I go to the rental car place. They pull me out to this Dodge Charger. Now, if you know what a Dodge Charger is, them cars are fast, okay? Them cars are fast. And I said, I don't want this fast car. Please get somebody else, because it's not for me. He was like, this is all we have. I was like, fine. I just remember driving so cautious. I was so scared. I was like, God, like, and then I remember I was driving on the highway and God was like, remember I said things are going to happen fast. right? But it's okay. And I was like, and literally as he's telling me that, the song Celebrate by Lecrae is playing. So God was showing me like, hey, the things that are going to be happening fast, you need to be celebrating. And so fast forward to December, January, when it's time for me to like, move, and he shared me to move. I remember all these things of God saying like, hey, things are going to happen fast. You're going to be okay. Hey, I'm going to be your provider. And I was just like, but don't forget that God also told you to celebrate. So why are you letting fear cripple you when you should be celebrating? Embrace it. Embrace the shift. Embrace the move. Don't be scared because God is your provider. And that's where I'm at right now, y'all. I will be moving shortly, or by the time you watch this video, I probably would have already moved. But that is my testimony. And the reason why I wanted to share this is because I want you to see God all over this. There is no way that after creating my perfect budget, getting to a point where I was comfortable, I was like, okay, like we can knock this out the park. I could be debt free like soon. And one of the things God showed me in all of this was that you've made money an idol. And that one hurt. He said, you made your student loans an idol. You've made money an idol, to the point that like I wasn't moving how I need to. And I don't know what else God needs me to do moving forward and with this move. But all I know is that it's going to be something. Okay. But he reminded me, he was like, remember I told you in your dorm room that you were going to do pharmacy, right? And if I'm telling you to move, why? Why are you so concerned about the money? My pastor at my church, she always says, she's like, his will, his bill. And that's where I'm at right now. His will, his bill. People might look at me crazy. Like, you could be saving so much money at home. You could be doing this. You could be doing this. God is telling me to move. That's what I'm doing. His will, his bill, and I will testify of his goodness. So I want to share this video to encourage y'all. Anyone who wants to seek to hear from God, he desires to speak to you. He desires to give you clarity. He desires to talk to you. He desires to give you wisdom. He desires to have encounters with you, but you need to open up your heart to allow him to. Don't be so set up and caught up in how God is supposed to speak with you that you miss out on the other ways that God can speak with you, that he can share things with you. And so I hope that this video encourages you to seek after God so that he can talk to you, that he can share things with you, give you dreams, give you visions, put people in your life to share things with you as well. So that's my testimony. And y'all, like, God has truly, 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 truly been faithful. I kid you not. I have everything that I need to move in. I haven't had to touch my savings. I haven't had to put anything on credit. And I have everything that I need. There were deals and sales that were just unheard of. My sister was like, you got your bed for $180? I was like, yes. How? I was like, I don't know. Literally, like, it was around Christmas that like my family knew I was going to move. My gifts were things for my home. I went to a store to get some decor. I was like, oh, I got all the decor I needed. I didn't have to break the bank. It was so cheap. I was just like, I literally have all that I need. And it has been such an easy process, just showing me that God is really like, I'm taking care of you. Embrace it. Walk in it. Trust me. Trust me. Seek me. And one of the things that I know God is really doing is that, like, this move is not just about, oh, like, I'm living my best life, I'm doing it. No, this move is about him. He gets all the glory. He will be glorified. That apartment that I move in will glorify him. Those who come in, come out. Whatever content I create is going to glorify God. And I don't know what he's doing, but I'm trusting him. And I really hope that this video encourages you to trust him too. Encourages you to seek after God, encourages you to really, truly ask him, like, God, speak to me. And for you, if God is sharing something with you, to obey. Listen, don't be like my friend literally was just like, Danicia, she was just like, if you don't move, we're not gonna be friends anymore, because I'm not trying to, have your life end up like Jonah and then my life gets affected. Okay. I was so weak because she's right. Look at Jonah in the Bible. Like literally, like he was trying to run away from what God clearly told him. And what happened? He's on the boat and the storm is happening. They had to kick him off the boat. Like, you need to go figure yourself out. And that's another thing. Like there were just stories. I remember watching a sermon, and this was so encouraging for me. Maybe I'll share it again, share another time. But like I know this video is kind of long, but it's okay. The story of the Shunammite woman, and maybe I'm saying that name wrong, but yes. But you know what? I really want to go into this because it's such a beautiful story, and God has really just allowed me to read it over and over, but it just encouraged me that like God knows the desires of your heart, even unseen desires. I wanted to move. Of course I wanted to move, but I also wanted to make sure that I was a good steward of my money, that, I wasn't just like, making decisions that could affect me financially years down the line. But God showed me that it's a heart posture, and he's bigger than money. And if he's calling you to do something, to be obedient. But anyways, I love the story of the Shunammite woman. I was watching a sermon by Stephanie Ike, and she shared it, and it just encouraged me so much, to the point that I have so much peace. This woman, the prophet asked her, what do you want? She's like, I have all that I need. I don't need anything. But there was a desire in her heart that was unspoken, to have a child. And so Elijah told her, like, by this time next year, you will have a child. And she did. But the part of the story that was so encouraging for me was that when her son died, this woman didn't bat an eye. She did not start to curse God. She did not start to get angry with God. She literally left, went right back to the prophet. Even like the prophet's worker stopped her and was just like, hey, like, can I help you with something? Like, what is wrong? She was like, all is well. This woman's son just died, and she says, all is well? I'm sorry, what? And then until she gets to the prophet is when she says, hey, that promise that you gave me? What's going on? And then at the end of the story, her son is alive. And that reminded me, and that showed me that, Danicia, like, God has given you a promise. God has told you to do something. So even when things get hard, or even when things don't look the way you thought it would look, all is well. And go back to the source and seek the face of God. So that's my testimony. My time is about to run out. Y'all already know the deal. You can comment below, or you can email me at behismasterpiece@gmail.com. Go out, be kind, be caring, be loving, and as always, be his masterpiece. Bye, y'all.